Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the On the Pony Express podcast. I am Billy Embody. SMU football is bowl eligible for the fourth straight season after a 41-23 win over USF on Saturday in Tampa. The Mustangs pulled away in the second half, outscored the Bulls 24-6 in the final stanza to win. They also covered, which was nice if you're a gambling partaker. So the Mustangs came out flat. Well, I wouldn't even say they came out flat. They came out and jumped out on USF, but they allowed USF back into the game. It was 17 all at the half. A lot of things happened for it to get to that point, but kudos to SMU. They circled the wagons, they re-energized themselves, and they went out and took it to USF and showed the type of team SMU is versus the type of team USF is, which is now 1-9 on the year. SMU 6-4 with the win. We're going to break it down here on this Sunday edition of the On the Pony Express podcast. Please keep subscribing to our YouTube channel. We've passed the 300 subscriber mark on that front. It continues to grow. Keep helping us out. Again, a lot of you guys who view are helping us, but we need you to subscribe to keep growing the channel. Lots of things to get to in this edition of the podcast. And I want to first say that was the type of response I would have expected from an SMU team going into the second half. My final score prediction wasn't far off. I gave SMU a little bit more credit than I thought in terms of coming out, jumping all over the Bulls and never letting their foot off the gas and cruising to a win. I had the win, I believe, 48-17 or something like that. Instead, SMU wins 41-23. The final touchdown for the Bulls coming against backups on defense. So SMU jumps out to that 10-0 lead, and really you got to feel good about where things are headed, despite some drops by Rashee Rice, despite just some things not going SMU's way early on in the contest, and then you see them kind of continue to have that struggle. You saw some drops from Rashee Rice. You saw just some drives fizzle for kind of weird reasons here or there. The fourth down play where the offensive linemen don't move came to mind. Rhett Lashley took complete credit for that after the fact, saying with the play call, he put, I guess, Brinson Hickman in a bad position. And then at the end of the first half, the long field goal attempt by Colin Rogers, wide right, would have been good from about probably 56, 60 yards. Really good kick by him, just wide right. That gave USF a short field. And before you know it, they're just kind of capitalizing on things. I think looking at how USF was able to kind of keep this one close, they had a good ground game. They were able to really make some things happen in the first half. In that respect, they hit some big plays in the pass game as well. I just feel like this is one where, SMU's run defense has not been good at all this year. The Bulls have Brian Battie, really, really talented player, kind of led the way there. And, the Bulls came out with a lot of energy. I didn't think SMU was kind of ready to play. They showed that they were, the better team early on, getting out to that 10-0 lead. But there were things throughout the game here or there that just kind of showed that maybe SMU did have a hangover from that Houston game, and Rhett Lashley kind of admitted that after the game that probably was the case. We saw some drops on defense. We saw some drops by the wide receivers. We saw some things just honestly not go SMU's way, and USF was getting some tackles for loss. At the same time, there were encouraging signs. Tanner Mordecai was on point. In terms of his first half, I would really have to look at it, and I'll try to pull it up here as I'm talking, but he finished 19 of 27 for 280 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. By the way, SMU didn't turn the ball over. And in that first half, there was at least, I would say, 2 or 3 that were clear drops. And in the first half, quite frankly, he was rolling. He was he was 12 of 19 to end the first half, and finished with that 19 of 27. I mean, completing 70% of his passes with the number of drops that SMU had. And not only that, they were big plays. There were some that there's the one Jordan Curley that was a perfectly dropped in ball. Obviously, he hit Jordan Curley later on for the 75-yard touchdown. But those are chunks of yardage that he missed out on. And so Tanner Mordecai continues to play at a really high level. He wasn't sacked again. Just kudos to the offensive line, kind of moving into that part of the game. They didn't allow a sack. SMU ran the ball, quite honestly, at will for the most part on USF, rushed for 273 yards. Camar Wheaton, 14 carries, 112 yards. Tyler Lavine, 17 carries, 112 yards. Velton Gardner, 6 for 19. And TJ McDaniel came in and capped it off, 2 for 19. I think when you look at what's going on with the offensive line as of late, we're seeing them take over the mentality of Tyler Lavine. Camar Wheaton getting his opportunities is big. He's got that burst, and he's starting to look really comfortable out there when he's able to play. So things are shaping up well on the run game. They've been very, very good in pass protection all season long. And I just feel like this team's starting to click. Here's the X factor of this whole thing. Jordan Curley. I was looking up last night, just kind of thinking out loud to myself, and I said, man, I wonder what SMU's record is with Jordan Curley in the lineup. And I looked at it, and when he's played a full game, SMU is nearly unbeatable. You look at this season in 2022 and what he was able to do. He gets hurt in that Maryland game, and from there, that's when SMU kind of fell off. He misses the TCU game. Cincinnati wasn't 100%, ends up missing the next game. So something might have happened against Cincinnati that caused him to miss that one. And then he comes back for Houston, and SMU rolls. He has 3 catches, 53 yards against Houston, then 7 catches for 156 yards and a touchdown against USF. This USF defense, not good. Temple ran the ball down their throat. SMU did as well. I got to give credit to the SMU staff. I think they managed this game really, really well. Again, some things didn't go their way. They missed a long field goal, set them up for a short field to tie it at half. Drops, but they committed to the run. They stayed with the run. They knew USF's run defense was poor, and they exploited that. SMU came out of this game having run 68 plays. That's very kind of abnormal. USF actually outsnapped them. You flip it over to the second half, and once SMU got up 41-17, they pulled the starters. They saw what happened to Travis Marsh. They said, no way. Kevin Henry Jennings, you're going in. Backups all around on defense. I mean, we saw Darren Brown. We saw Jaquandis Burns, Cam Farrar, Kavaris Hall, Ahmad Moses, who actually got some time earlier on in the game when Brandon Crosby got hurt. Ahmad Moses got some time back there. They pretty much emptied the chamber on who could actually go in and suit up. I saw Bo Barker, TJ McDaniel. SMU's offensive line even didn't have Justin Osborne this week. From what I saw, I didn't see him rotate in, but it was definitely Jalen Thomas that got the start at right guard. And as we noted for On the Pony Express subscribers, it was kind of one of those deals after, watching our media availability where Justin Osborne was kind of observing with Garen Justice behind Jalen Thomas. It was very similar to how they handled Branson Hickman when he ended up not playing against UCF, and Jalen Thomas got the start at center. So we'll see if they have him back for Tulane. Obviously, the 6 that they play a ton of, they're very high on. One thing we saw in practice this week, and we're not allowed to share it because it's a formational thing, but we saw SMU go unbalanced. Cam Irving was the extra blocker, and Gage Haskin was the second tight end that came in to join RJ Maryland. You guys remember Ben Redding out for the year, huge blow for SMU. Now they're using Cam Irvin as an additional blocker, which I think is very smart. And Gage Haskin is a willing one as well. Just goes to show where Nolan Matthews-Harris is on the depth chart as well, that he didn't really get any burn there. So they used that. They ran the trick play. We saw it run in practice. Ran it into the boundary. Didn't love it. A lot of things going on for a short game there. But, I think that's a part of what Rhett Lashley and Casey Woods kind of draw up just to give people stuff to game plan for, and to keep an eye on it and know that there's something coming out of that playbook. And I was listening to Rich Phillips as I was watching the game, and he commented on the same thing. You know, it was kind of a timely call where, you know, it didn't get much. It also didn't take a loss, but it said, you know what, we're starting to beat up on you, and we've got more in the chamber offensively. So I think for SMU to come out and just respond in the second half was important. It was a good response for a veteran team. SMU allowed them kind of back in. Some things didn't go their way, and some decisions just, quite frankly, you know, kind of hurt them in the first half to end up 17-all. But they came out and blew the doors off of USF. I think the leadership on this team really stepped up at the half. And if you're on the Pony Express subscriber, I dropped some additional notes on that as well. So check that out on the site at ontheponyexpress.com. Be sure to subscribe. Big stretch here for SMU in the season, as well as early signing period coming up in December. So check us out. We appreciate all you guys who have subscribed, and hope you got your free Founders Club hat as well. Defensively, SMU secondary still struggled a little bit here. Jahari Rogers did get an interception, the lone turnover between the two teams in the game, and returned it. So his second straight game with an interception. And then I'll add Armani Johnson, unavailable for this game. He's kind of had a health scare from what I'm told. So we'll try to get an update on that, but did want to share that. That's why he didn't play. That's a big blow to the secondary. I thought Sam Westfall had a decent day out there as well. A lot of dropped interceptions. Once again, there are a couple from Nick Roberts, and I believe another one got tipped that would have been an interception by him. But he had a big game as well against his former team. I liked what SMU did in the second half. Still think there's some tackling issues, and there's some diagnosing issues as well. I watched a little bit of Shannon Reed, and he just moves just a little too slow on some of these plays. Granted, he's not a starter. He is a backup, but he plays enough that when he's out there, it's kind of noticeable, especially in the run game, that he's a little slow to try to fill some gaps. I think the biggest thing to kind of look at when you kind of go back and track this game is clearly with about 7 minutes left in the game, SMU took out their starters. And so the fourth quarter, USF puts up 114 of their 381 total yards. The third quarter, SMU limited them to just 75 yards. I thought the second half adjustments were nothing more than the guys playing a little bit harder, playing with a little bit more passion. And so I think that's something to kind of note. Again, this defense, when they play hard and they play aggressive, they're able to hold their own. It's just a consistency thing. And I know that sounds lame, and there are certainly some holes there personnel-wise, and there are some things that I'm sure Scott Simons would love to have back every game. And there's a lot to unpack, but their tackling issues, I think in part for some of the guys, is effort. They're not where they need to be, and they aren't running hard enough on the back end of it every play to be there to make the stop. So they're a step behind. They try to arm tackle. Somebody runs through it. Brian Battie is a great running back too. So he obviously makes a lot of teams look bad on that front. But look, I mean, SMU bowl eligible. I got to say one more thing. Colin Rogers is really turning into a little bit of a weapon here. He's 12 of 15 on the year, perfect on all 49 extra points. And he just missed that 53-yarder wide right. His misses this year, and somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but I know the Maryland one was kind of a long one, and then there was another one in there. I'm pretty sure they were all long field goal attempts. So his long of the season is a 46-yarder. He's shown now that he's got the leg to hit from 50. I think down the line he's going to, have to be leaned on. And as a true freshman, I think he's shown enough poise that you can really trust him. So really liked what I saw from him and have been seeing. I know they're really high on his future overall. So look, SMU heads to New Orleans 6:30 Thursday night to take on Tulane on ESPN. We'll be there. Have your coverage at ontheponyexpress.com. Quick note on basketball. Mustangs did fall 74-62 to Dayton on Friday night. I will say it was a good effort, and they battled back a couple times. You've got to give them a little bit of credit. for playing a top 25 Dayton team. Really tough. Samuel Williamson did a great job keeping SMU in the game down the stretch. Zach Nuttall led them in scoring. I think the front court, you need Xavier Foster to kind of start stepping up when he's going to be available. That would be huge. Put all of his talent together. They just need some help in the front court, but they play hard. They are really, really physical. Look, it's going to be a process. Rob Lanier said this was kind of a good sign for us to show how we handle some things, handle some adversity. They battled back. They went on some runs, and they out-rebounded Dayton in the second half. So kudos to SMU. It was a good try. Tough place to play, tough team, and SMU's just not there yet. So Tuesday night, they take on New Mexico in Moody Coliseum, 7 p.m. start time on ESPN+. Appreciate all you guys listening to this edition. Hope this kind of gets you through your Sunday if you're out running around doing some errands. Short week. We're going to drop our preview podcast early. We're going to do it on Tuesday for you guys and get that on there. Maybe Wednesday morning. Going to try to get it going before we travel down to New Orleans on Wednesday for SMU Tulane. So SMU does need a little bit of help. ECU coming back to beat Cincinnati, or Cincinnati hanging on to beat ECU was key in that. That was a game that East Carolina, man, you wish, for SMU's sake, they would have been able to pull out. Tough loss for the Pirates and a tough loss for SMU because now they need Temple to beat Cincinnati and then Tulane to beat Cincinnati for SMU to have a shot at the AAC championship game appearance. So they can't have a shot if they don't beat Tulane on Thursday. They're going for their 8th straight win over the Green Wave. So we'll be there to preview that game later this week for you guys. Hope you guys enjoyed this edition of the podcast, and we will catch you guys this coming week with our preview podcast of SMU Tulane. So hope you guys enjoy your Sunday, and thanks for listening to the On the Pony Express podcast.